for tacos. Covered it extensively on the show. We're the number one tech podcast and taco podcast. I think that's unequivocal, if I can say that correctly. But a lesser known fact is Austin, Texas. We do have a bunch of donut shops here. But bad news came in this week, Matt, as you saw if you're in the Software Defined Talk Slack.
I posted it.
Shipley Donuts has been sold to private equity. Shipley is I guess we'd call it. I don't know if they maybe originally are they based in Houston? Is that right? I don't know. Were they
I'm not
originally?
sure. I'm not sure.
Well, they've been like a local staple of this. So I wanted to get your instant reaction. Shipley Donuts going to private. It's Pete Rock Capital's taking them over. Are you concerned? Are you a fan of Shipley Donuts? Like, what should we
Um,
do?
yeah, I mean, last time I was there, there was a Shipley near my parents. So one of the traditions I had when I lived in Austin was, um, one morning, not every weekend, but I would try to do it with the kids where we drive up to 183 and we'd hit the Krispy Kreme
Mm-hmm.
and grab them, grab one fresh off the line, and then
Mm-hmm.
a box to bring home, and then hit uh, the Rudy's like two doors down,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and get the breakfast tacos to go. So it was breakfast tacos and donuts, and man, that was so good. Where you get like the savory breakfast tacos, and then you'd get the the sugar high of fresh Krispy Kreme, but they didn't have a Krispy Kreme near my parents, so I updated it with what was local, and Shipley's is good. I mean, it was they had a nice wide variety of choices. They had all the staples, which I'm mostly a donut purist. I go for regular glazed, chocolate glazed, and then fritters. I like the variety of fritters, but I grab those. Got some breakfast tacos from somewhere else, and it was like it's like I never left.
I think you've hit on the key thing that Austin brings to the table is that the taco places and the donut places are usually relatively close. You already mentioned Rudy's and Krispy Kreme. I will
Well,
also offer up
there's a
another
taco place
place.
everywhere, though, right?
That's true, but maybe it's the fact that there's just tacos everywhere, and I guess everything's close to a taco place. But I'll also say One Taco and Dunkin' Donuts, which didn't really make this list, but they're actually in the same. They're literally like three doors down for each other. I always thought to myself they should just kind of like have like a internal door. This big one big store, like half donuts, half that. So that's a really good one as well. But there were some strong opinions here. Some people did not
Yeah.
like Shipley Donuts, and then kind of off the Brian, a longtime listener, friend of the show, like he came off the top rope and just I don't know, Round Rock Donuts taking some strays. He immediately called out Round Rock Donuts as not good as well. Do you have I can't say Round Rock is a little bit further. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's not something I've had a lot, but do you have a
I,
strong
I,
opinion on Round
I
Rock
did not
Donuts?
have strong opinions. I mean, I lived not central Austin, but closer to downtown, and so maybe Round Rock Donuts expanded down the highways and made their way, but once we kind of landed on Krispy Kreme, that sealed the door for a lot of other ones. And I know it's a big chain. You want to support the locals. There was a place, I want to say like Airport and 2244. I don't know, somewhere up there. That I think it was called Crown Donuts. They had amazing fritters. They had apple, cherry, and banana fritters.
Mm-hmm.
And like their other donuts were fine, but it was like I would go there because that was like
Because
my
you're kind
jam.
of a for you're a little not surprisingly you've gone off the core menu for your own thing. Now, what
Yeah,
about
but
like?
when somebody brought up Voodoo Donuts, and they're like, oh, they've got these
Well, I
crazy
was gonna say
flavors.
to be fair here, let's be fair. Voodoo Donuts is an import from
Oh,
Portland, as
totally,
I understand it. So
totally.
we don't want to pretend that like
I
this is an
mean,
original thing.
they're not a carpetbagger, but whatever the coming from the Pacific Northwest is called, the West
Hmm.
Coast. I'm sure Texas has to have a name for that. But yeah, Voodoo Donuts like they're fine. But again, once you start getting too fancy, it's just you're gilding the lily.
They're like
It's just
small cakes, right? Because they're like, I
exactly,
mean, they have like
and they're priced
my
like it too.
yeah, it's like a $5 donut. My son one time got like we went and he got something that was covered in like Captain Crunch. That was like one of the
Exactly,
toppings,
or
and it's like
Oreos, or yeah,
yeah, I mean it's kind of its own thing. So I don't know. Maybe in the end, what we're saying here, I hate to admit it, because I was gonna say like I know Dunkin' Donuts not necessarily a small company. Krispy Kreme donuts, those are places actually are very close to me, as well as I think the donuts are fine. So like maybe what I'm learning here is I've already given in to Big Donut. I mean, I'm already part of the problem. The fact that like I wasn't even going to Shipley Donuts, I didn't think about them. It's the fact that they've been sold to private equity. Matt, we're the problem. We're the problem. We're giving up on this. We're allowing private equity to come in and just roll over the small
Corner the
donut
donut
shops
market.
of the world.
But that's the thing about donuts. The reason there's so many is it's a fairly low barrier to entry. That'd be like saying, private equity, grabbed all the dry cleaners. It's like, yeah, they'll just start popping up again, right? I think donut places, dry cleaners, massage parlors, it's like I'm not sure you can corner those markets. You can grab the big chains and hold on to that prestige, but it's like mom and pop can still make a run at the donut market.
Yeah. Well, Parash did us a little favor. He asked Claude to predict what would a private equity firm do with donuts. And I think here are the quick phases. It said first there's going to be the growth phase, aggressive expansion plans based on spreadsheets rather than local understanding. So we should expect Shipley Donuts to just magically show up everywhere. They'll just take that brand and
Yep.
throw it all over,
Yep.
maybe all over
Come
Texas, maybe who knows,
all the
maybe
airports.
Portland, every
Yeah.
airports, whatever it is. Then there'll be an optimization phase. That's where the menu simplification eliminates beloved specialty items. So maybe we're just gonna have
So
glazed and chocolate. That's it.
well,
That's all
or
there's gonna
or
be.
they'll have like 5 or 6 kinds of donuts. I don't know how many they had now. I want to say maybe 8 or 9. But they also had like kolaches and bear claws
So those are probably going away. We have to give up on those.
I think they had some breakfast tacos, and I was like, I'm
Mm.
gonna get breakfast tacos from a breakfast taco
Yeah,
place.
you're kind of outside your
Yeah,
lane there because
yeah, yeah.
the third phase here will be operational efficiency, where they're going to start replacing the local friendly staff with metrics focused employees.
Robots.
Um, I don't know. The donut employees, I don't know if they're always like happy. I think they give you the donuts, but I feel like it's a very like it's just so I don't
Well, that's
know. Maybe
because
there already are. I don't know if there's much more efficiency other than making
I'm.
them robots. I don't know if there's a lot of efficiency on
I
the
mean,
employees.
think about the life as a donut shop employee. It's like nothing but nonstop caffeine and sugar crashes. It's got to be
True.
terrible for you.
Fourth phase will be the technology integration phase. That's probably when we'll get involved. There's going to be some buggy apps and their self-service kiosks. That's what you're talking about before everything's replaced by a robot. That's like going to the Panera Bread now, where it's just like all it is kiosk. Like
Kiosk.
there's no one there to talk to. And then finally, market positioning phase, where they're going to increase prices because it's a premium experience. So I don't
That's where I
know.
think the
I,
problem is.
I was going to say that's when people leave private equity donut and they're like, you know what? We're going out on our own. We're going to create our
Mhm.
own donuts and they're going to be less expensive than
Yeah,
these
Pflugerville
these
Donuts.
private
Here it
equity.
comes. Yeah.
It, without a doubt. So, well, Shipley, I can't say I really ever ate there much, but I'm sad to see you go. But we'll cheer you on from the sidelines and tune in next week as we tour, if you will, breakfast items. I think next week we'll do kolaches and we'll go over the
Ooh.
kolache positioning here in Austin, Texas, because that's what people want to hear about breakfast
Oh
foods in
yeah.
Austin.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right, man. I thought, it's kind of mid-year. I thought, what we need to do? We need to do like a little mid-year AI check-in, kind of like, performance review. Like what is going on? What do we believe is actually happening? And I thought we would use for this our friend, the Gardener hype cycle, right? Which is,
Classic.
can I say this? Is it the best thing Gardener's ever created? Do you think that's too
It's
hyperbolic?
it's the one that I remember.
It's the one. So for those not following at home or have never heard of it, the first time listening to the show, it's like basically it's just a big line. At the top is peak of inflated expectations. At the bottom is the trough of disillusionment. And if you make it out of that, you kind of get to the plateau of productivity. And I think it's fair to say, I don't think it's any controversy to say that AI is in the middle of some type of hype cycle. But I thought that's where we should start. That's where I thought we should start, Matt, is like, where do we think the AI is? Do we think we're at the top of
Mm-mm.
inflated expectations? Are we kind of headed down to the trough of disillusionment? Are we still on the way up? I don't think there's any way we're in the plateau of productivity. That's definitely not where we're at. What do you think? What does your gut tell you?
I mean, my gut tells me we're still moving up the curve, right? I don't think we've gotten to the peak yet. We're getting there. No, undoubtedly we're getting there. And I mean, I've been occasionally reading the works of Ed Zitron, and so he's gearing up for the trough of disillusionment, right? He's like, a hard rain's coming, and everything's going to start sliding down. Because when you look at how much money is pouring into this for how little return, I mean, I think one of the numbers I saw said that Facebook invested more in AI infrastructure than the entire AI market made.
So
So
you
Facebook,
mentioned
not
one though,
not
but
not
like,
not you know, not the cloud providers, not all the not Grok and all the other ones, not everything. I mean, full market.
but I think this is what I think is so interesting. Like every time we are in these hype cycles, and it's like I always feel like, oh, okay, every time we go through one, I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna learn, right? And it's like the part about it
But
that is
that's
so hard.
that's why it's like that's why they patent pending on this hype cycle. They're like nobody's going to learn. We're going to milk this thing because everybody knows this is a real observational thing,
Well,
right?
I agree. Like I no doubt we're going through it. So it's almost like first we've identified like it's almost like a patient. It's like, okay, we know exactly what you have. You have hype cycle. We're in the middle of hype cycle. So okay, we all can agree on that. So it's the treatment is
Mm-hmm.
the question. Because I think you mentioned Ed is it Ziftron? Is that how you say his last name? He is
Yeah, Citron.
hopefully is anyway. I'll
Yeah.
put like he actually had an interview with I guess Corey Quinn interviewed him last week on his podcast over
Oh
at
yeah.
and a lot of snark in there, of course, you'd expect it. But like, if you kind of like just take away like all of kind of the emotion of it, his core case is people are just overspent. Like he would say something like this: that the TAM is total addressable market is significantly smaller, and people are spending way too much money. And for what will ultimately be a much smaller, addressable market, and there will inevitably be some type of correction towards that, right? So I get it, right? But now he comes at it like when I took a 45-minute podcast and I made it sound, much simpler. But like, there's a lot of emotion between him and Corey, kind of talking about all the reasons, what's going on there. And so on one hand, like I get that. And I think we all sort of get the fact that like, yeah, there isn't that as much revenue there. But I was looking at the Stack Overflow survey, developer survey came out, and I was specifically looking at the AI section, right? And it's sort of interesting. So it is interesting here. So it's like over 50% of those in Stack Overflow use AI tools daily or weekly. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like there are real people using this a lot, right? 50% of the people surveyed said they had a favorable view of the tools, with 17% being indifferent. I think that's just the core develop. I love the developers. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever,
I'm,
indifferent. But
I- I'm
like,
too busy developing, right?
but it's
I can't
good,
be
right?
bothered.
Um, so there is like real usage. It's not like because I think sometimes like these hype cycles is like, well, is anyone doing anything? And like software engineering for sure, people are using these tools. So that is like, I think 100%. Now I think on the hater side, Ed Zifron, he would say, well, that's fine, but that isn't like life changing. That's not AGI. That's not redefining all of. So that's an interesting part of it. And I think now when we go into a little bit further into it is uh, the thing that caught my eye was like, okay, if you ask software developers, only 4% think AI is good at complex tasks. Okay, now I think we're starting to get to the point where like
Yeah.
this is the part where like I tend to agree, right? Like this is where like, hey, it's not even vibe coding. It's sort of like if you're kind of like localized in an area and you have a general sense of what you want, I think it's very good. It does it really well.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
idea that you're just sort of like, and this is the part,
YOLOing
like,
it.
I like
Yeah.
Claude Code too. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to like say I don't like Claude Code, but like I like Claude Code doing small tasks, me watching it and us kind of teaming up and making sure it's right. Like when you let Claude Code, I'm not picking on that one. I just the one I've used the most. I think when you just like be like go to town, it can get like quickly out of like you're like you have to like delete the whole branch. You have to be like, whoa, you like Claude, you just like you went crazy there. We have to rein you back in. I'm deleting everything and we're starting
Well,
from the beginning. And we're gonna do
yeah.
it like step by step. Um, so I don't know where that like I guess that's sort of back to like the hype cycle. It's like most of us are using this, at least in development, software engineering. I think most of us think they're good, but at the same time, most of us either we haven't seen it or we haven't embraced this idea of complexity that I think the bulls, the AI bulls would be like, fire all the software developers. We don't need anyone. It's like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is definitely not the case. And I don't think that's like being like I don't think that's sort of like stay off my lawn kind of thing. It's like no, it just doesn't work like that. I think
It
I don't
doesn't.
think you
Yeah.
and when you use it, so I don't know how do we reconcile this with the hype cycle? Like we kind of know it's not good with complex things, but people are telling us it's going to be good with complex things. Like
Well,
that's like a weird part of this conversation to me.
I mean, to me, it's like having a fleet of junior developers, and I remember when I was a junior developer and working with somebody like you might have spent like 2 or 3 days working on something, and you're like, all right, I think I nailed this, and then you bring it back to like whoever assigned you the task, and they're like, what the hell is this? But and in this case, like you can spend your AI tokens to get a what the hell is this moment um, faster, and so you can micromanage them just like you would a junior developer. You can say like, oh, here's the next task. No, 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 no. I meant this. No, no, no. I meant this too. And finally get what you want. Sometimes that's a lot of effort. Sometimes it starts to look costly, right? And one of the funny things I saw the other day was somebody was like, well, I vibe coded my website and stuff's not working. How do I fix it? Right?
Right.
And the answer was, well, that's what developers do, right?
Yeah.
They fix things. And so I think the I think the problem here is the expectation is you can get rid of the developers, but the problem is like these coding agents, it's spicy autocomplete. They're taking stuff they've seen before. They don't understand what they're doing. They have no context, and so you have to give them very good instructions and understand what they bring back to you. And if you don't understand what they bring back to you, you end up on Twitter and Blue Sky and all that as people talk about how your vibe coded website got knocked over and 4 million people had their identity stolen because you were storing scans of driver's licenses in your database. Like
Hmm.
that's just bad all around. But human product manager should have caught that. Human developers should have raised some flags. Humans know these things, and AI is just like, you told me to do this, and I did it. What's the problem, right?
Right.
So I think kind of my feel on this is as we approach the peak, and I think we are approaching the peak because the amount of money going in, yeah, maybe you can keep making this bet for years. I mean, I just bought a house in the Australian housing market. You can keep making bubble bets. You can keep making purchases in a bubble. Someday it will pop, and I think the where it pops is the realization is going to come that you can't replace everything. That this is a great supplemental technology, and yeah, there will be reduction in forces. I think it's a terrible time to be a low skilled tech worker, just entering the market or whatever. You're going to have to like AI your way into experience, which is a hard task because as we've seen with college students and all the other students, is some people are willing to fake their way the whole time, and you maybe you can fake your way through life, but eventually and eventually
Maybe
and
you can agent way your way through life.
yeah,
Just
yeah, but I think eventually you are going to run into engineering problems, and
all right.
you're
Well, let's
going to
dive in
run
here
into
on
the need for
agents.
experience.
There were some interesting things on agents. Like one, I don't even know. Do we have a definition of agent? I guess it's a rhetorical question. I don't think it's even clear to me, like what's an agent, what isn't. I guess Claude Code and Gemini. I guess there are like, I guess that's the closest thing I would say I've touched, right? Like I on the command line, tell it to do something, and you kind of let it go for a while, right? And so if I look at this, these reports, it said, okay, right now, only 14% of people use agents at work, right? And so that's, and then of course it's sort of like, are they are they productive? And I think people again only 16% to a general to a great extent. So again, like I just feel like this idea of the agent, right, is like I don't even think we are all talking about the same thing. Because I would be interesting to
Yeah.
know, like when I see this, I'm like, what is everyone using? What's like, is there all like, is it all Claude Code? Is it all the Gemini agent? Is it something else? Um, so that's my first question. And the other thing I think is interesting. they basically, now this is obviously a software development survey, but outside, they basically say like, okay, outside of software engineering, where there are agents used like 80% of the time, which I think we all get it. And I take away like the top three, which is kind of like software engineering adjacent, which is data and analytics and IT operations. So those are kind of the top three. But when you kind of get down below, it's like, customer service support, only 11% of the time is an agent. Marketing, 8%. Cybersecurity, your world, Matt, it's only 7%. So it's like, just this idea, I don't know, I guess my broad question is this. It's like, and you mentioned it earlier, like there keeps being this discussion of like, well, I'm going to have these agents doing stuff and I'm going to manage the agents and I'm going to look at the stuff, and I'm like, does anyone really want that? Do you want, like, so if I said to you like, you can have a team of 10 junior developers, you just have to manage them, like that is a lot of work. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily like, it can be satisfying. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to
Oh
say
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
not satisfying, but it is. It's like it's a full-time job, right?
yeah.
And it's like, I don't. This is just where I'm coming from. I'm like, do we all want like 10 different agents in our life, like doing stuff, and in the morning they like send status reports, and you
But
kind of like check in on them? I'm like, I don't think I want anything like this. Like
but I think I
but.
think you're going to
Mhm.
get that. I think the problem is, those 10 agents are cheaper than 10 junior developers.
But like, I don't. Here's my thing though. This is the part I don't get. It's like, again, back to my Claude Code thing. It's like, if I let the thing, if it goes, it's kind of like the joke I was making before. It's like at some point you're like, oh, Claude, you went too far. We're deleting the whole repository and we're starting again. But
Hmm.
that could be like over a period of like, I don't know, 10 minutes to an hour, right? Where you're just like, this thing's just out of hand, right? This
Yeah.
idea that I would be like, I'm going to bed, right? And like 10 agents are going to work for a full like 10 hours on their own, right? And then I'm going to show up in the morning and be like, I need to now work, review, whatever that is, 100 hours of
Yep.
work by computer agents that are like doing things at like computer speed. Like, what would I like? Where would I even start? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And it's like, do I have like okay, this thing, it's like the classic software engineering demo. It's like okay, this thing made all my travel arrangements. Do I then start double checking like, okay, were the tickets issued?
hmm,
Are the flights actually accurate? Did it mess up the airports? Is that Austin, Texas, or is that like, or did it book me to Australia? Like, imagine all this. You know what I mean? You have to go through and check all of this stuff, right? Like, you can't
exactly.
just be like, it's going to be working. So that's why I'm like, I don't think this is what we want. I don't think I want to get up in the morning and be like,
But
I got to work through 10 different agents and like all
but
the
we've
things
we
they've done to see if it's correct.
yeah, but we've already been through this, right?
We
You
have.
remember
Did I miss it? Where was I? What was going on?
outsourcing. Remember when we had all these expensive, developers, and we were just going to move all development into, Southeast Asia, or we were going to move it to Eastern Europe, and everything, and software development was magically going to be cheaper and transformed, and all the American software jobs were going to disappear.
Right. That
Like,
was like, I would
what
say
what
that's
happened?
circa 1999, 2000. That was
Yeah,
sort of
I
the
mean,
pitch.
we lived through this, right? Like, I literally, helped lay off everyone else on my team and, outsource their jobs. And then, um, what we found was, well, yes, there are some efficiencies gained there. There are definitely a lot of, really sharp developers that you can get for cheaper rates. And you know what? Those sharp developers change jobs quickly, and because they're sharp, and people will hire them away. And what we ended up with was like, huh, we used to be able to hire four developers for the price of one, and now it's 2 to 1. Now it's 1.5, and their prices got higher and higher because the quality rose to the surface, and now you still have a lot of development happens in the U.S. A lot of development, a lot of development teams are mixed. Oh, you find the best people where you can, and you'll pay a premium for them. So the idea that you were going to outsource everything crashed and burned. It did, but we definitely went through a hype cycle, right? It was like, hey,
Mhm.
we'll never,
But maybe
we're
that's
no longer
like,
doing development in the
we
States.
should
It's
keep
only
going with your
marketing and
example
sales.
here.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say like, okay, well, how does this really work today? It's like, well, the way it works is like, okay, yeah, you can have people all over the world. You have usually some type of scrum or some type of weekly check-in where like everyone comes together, and that's where essentially everyone's checking everyone's work. Everyone's being on
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
page. There
Yep.
isn't this idea, and I guess it's like, I mean, it seems to work, right? I mean, that I think many people are working that, but like there's this idea is like everyone's like still very integrated. It isn't
Mm-hmm.
like I just turned off the lights and this other team does everything. And I guess that's maybe to your original point is like, I don't know, I guess that could happen with agents, but I just feel like at least at this point, and this is the part where it's like, I don't know if I'm on the haters guide side or if I'm on the expectation side. It's like I feel like it's working when it's working with me and we're doing things together and I'm like checking as we go. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's right, that's good. That task is done. Like the travel thing is a good example. It's like, all right, book the travel, show me the itinerary, get it all set up, but I'm still gonna press like,
Yeah. Well,
buy now, right?
and that's where we got to. We got to a reconciliation of like, oh, it turns out like you still have to have some expertise. You still have to, pay really close attention to the work that's being outsourced. You have to give even better requirements documents. You have to have even more well-defined acceptance criteria. So all this stuff looks the same. I mean, it looks the same because you're giving the work to somebody who they're not in house currently, and the model adapted. And you know
Right.
what? There's still a lot of software development jobs. They're spread out throughout the world. But you don't see the idea that, oh, we'll outsource everything. And same as like IT. You have these companies that are like, oh, no IT, we'll never do anything again. And then the MSPs get them over the barrel and keep increasing their rates, and then they're like, how come I only get 20 tokens for my $40 a month?
Right.
And now you're telling me like I'm gonna have to upgrade my plan, but I don't have any developers to fall back onto anymore. I'll just shop around to different AI things. Same thing happened with IT outsourcing. It's like at some point you have to have some expertise.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Those are good points. Now, okay, well, let's kind of like, kind of switch gears a little bit and say, okay, well, I have one other question on this before we go on the agent side. It's like, why so far software development world, agents and we see a lot of this. Okay. But like, why is this not spilling over into like, I'm gonna call it like my other work? It's like, yes, you can edit text and proofread text and generate text. That all works great in AI. But
Yep.
like if you're in a PowerPoint, you're on your own. Like I don't know if please point at me this way. There isn't like an agent in PowerPoint that'd be like just simple stuff like clean up all the fonts, make sure everything's consistent, correct all the grammar, like same like and also emails the other one. It's like I'm using the Microsoft stuff. That's what my company uses. Is like, yes, it will kind of like, proofread stuff, but it's like it's not like I just open an email and it sort of like suggests a response, right? It's sort of
Yeah.
like I'm still doing so and spreadsheets is the other one. It's like use spreadsheets all the time. It's like obviously if you're doing Python stuff, it's great. But like in Excel, like you're still like, going in there, formatting the spreadsheet, turning things from numbers to decimals to
Well,
dollars or whatever.
that's
And
because
it's
AI has
like
no taste.
but I'm just saying, like, where is like that's the part? Like, I mean, I feel like these things before there's AGI. My question is just like, what? Like, I'm just surprised. Like, it hasn't made its way into the other productivity tools, and I think this is why sometimes there's a big divide between somebody that has done something and even a little bit. I'll put myself in this category. A little bit of software engineering, touching it, sort of like, oh, you're like, whoa. Like you kind
Hmm.
of see what could be possible. But if you're not that kind of person, if you're just in spreadsheets and PowerPoint and email all day, which is obviously what a lot of people do. I do a lot of that too. It's
I
like
do a
it's
lot of
kind of
that.
like you don't see it, right? I mean, you kind of get like maybe a co-pilot suggestion once in a while, but it doesn't feel like it's
Right.
like what's going on? Like why is this not happening?
Well, I mean, text manipulation is fine, right? Because it's autocomplete. It's
Hmm.
just statistically modeling. These are the words that come after those words. If or if you give it like a couple of keywords, it's like, oh, I know that. Search, spit out a template of of an algorithmically thing that we've seen before, and then you edit to fit. But when it comes to like a PowerPoint template, or a PowerPoint slide deck, is like, well, the reason people have templates is to try to enforce this, and that still doesn't work, right? Every time you copy and paste between two PowerPoint decks, you end up in formatting hell, and there's no like just fix it, right? So if something isn't um if it doesn't fit into like an algorithmy kind of thought, like when you look at you know text generation, there are 50 years of 60 years of research in natural language processing, about how sentences work, and
Hmm.
how language works. But there's not any research like that that says spreadsheets work like this always. This is an English spreadsheet, this is a Japanese spreadsheet, and you just move these rules around, and now they're you can translate. It's not that simple, because you know there are very few. I used to use spreadsheets for just Dungeons and Dragons inventory, right? And oh, by the way, I'm also using it to plan vacations and budget for my house. So it's
Right.
like, wait, how are these things alike? And how do I tell an AI? Well, just suck it all up and spit one out for me. And it's like it's just too much variety with not enough formulaic patterns, which is why when you go and open up Excel or numbers or whatever, it's like here's some templates of things we've known. Like AI can give you those templates, but after that, it's starting to be like this is all the Wild West, and so I think there are gaps there, but I'm fingers crossed optimistic. Like you've got you've got Gemini, you've got Gemini, you've got your Google Docs, you've got your Google Sheets. Like they kind of work well together. Their APIs maybe can start to try to figure things out. I'm playing with that because sadly my day is Excel and Office and PowerPoint and email, and so it's like I'm not seeing. I know those benefits are there, but I don't get to use them as much as I want. And so
Well, we'll see,
yeah,
man. Maybe
I'm
it's
actually I talk like a developer, but I spend my
uh
time in
well, no, I think we
development.
all do. I mean, even the developers, what I talked about, like even they're only coding like 8 hours a day, so they're in these programs too. And it's like I don't know. It's just one of these. I understand what you're saying. You did a good defense of why it's complicated, but I'm like, I don't know. We're on our way to age. This is, I guess, maybe we're kind of expressing a little trough of disillusionment. It's like, listen, I was
That's
told
what
we're
I'm
about to
saying.
have like AGI. It's like, well, on our way to that, can I at least have a better spreadsheet and do some of this PowerPoint work for me? And it's
Can
like,
you
so
fix? Yeah,
so
can
far
you
the
fix
answer
my
is no.
PowerPoint? Yeah.
Right. So far, like if you're in Gemini's a good example. Like you can either work in Gemini or you can work in like Google Docs, but those two do not meet. You know what I mean? If you can't edit a Google Doc with Gemini, it's just like, oh, I can't do it. But if you, and it tells you, oh, but if you paste it in here, and it's like, well, why can't you do it? So, all right. Well, the final area of this, I want the last part of the check in is probably the most important here. It's the money side of this. So here
Yes.
we sit. It's like we're seeing unprecedented usage of these things. These companies, so we're going to say, we're just going to pick on OpenAI and Anthropic. They clearly have customers and they're clearly making revenue. They are also clearly losing an incredible sums of cash. Like maybe they've never lost money faster than in anything we've ever seen before, right? I mean, it's just like it's crazy. So this is like the ultimate question I think about where we are a bit. Are we in inflated expectations? Or are we in trough of disillusionment? It's like at what point, like at how much money can these people lose before we're like collectively we're like that's too much. Like I know you say like I know what you're saying, but like I don't know. I'm gonna say like $10 trillion is like like something like like I don't know the GDP of the United States. It's like okay, if that's the upper bound, it's like at what point are we just like no, like Sam Altman, we've seen all the demos. You've gone too far. Like you've spent like where do you think? Is there a number you have in your head? Is there just like is it just a gut feel where we're just because this is a lot of where Ziftron, this is his big point, right? Is this like you will never companies spending this kind of money. And the reason I picked and Anthropic and OpenAI is they are dependent on fundraising, right? They
Yes.
must get capital. Like there is a extent here where Google, Facebook essentially have infinite money and they can spend almost forever, right? So it's like I guess we could debate that and be like, well, they're wasting their money, but they don't have to keep raising money. Whereas Anthropic and OpenAI legitimately have to convince somebody to be like, all right, I got 20 billion from you. Now I need 40 billion. So there's some
Mm-hmm.
number now. They're not going to be able to fundraise. Like any idea, like do you have any sense of what that number is and where are we? Are we like are we already over the line? Are we just
Well,
like they've gone too
that's
far?
yeah, that's the whole debate by Zitron by pointing out like not only does does the emperor have no clothes, he's not streaking, he's just walking towards towards down the street, and everybody's like, where does clothes go? And like, I don't know, man. He doesn't seem to care.
But we all know,
Um,
like we're all like, but this is the part I would disagree with them. It's like we know, like we're all watching. It's not like we don't like. It's not like we don't think there's no cause. Like no, we see this, but we're also like, there is a chance that this could be worth $10 trillion, right?
there is a chance that we're all going to be naked soon.
I mean, but there is. I guess that's the part I don't. It's like I don't know. It's like today, by today's standards, losing this much money is crazy. But we've seen this a lot. We've seen this in technology, but it's like everyone's like, oh, like go back. I mean, kind of a rough analogy would be like, look at these crazy people posting videos on the web. They're killing themselves. They're wasting so much money and bandwidth. They'll never make the money back. Now, flash forward, YouTube is worth like whatever, $400 billion or something, right? And it's like, so I mean, again, the
Yeah.
numbers are so much smaller. It's like a little bit, it doesn't necessarily work. But there is these moments of like, well, I mean, they are kind of going for this giant thing. And
Well,
so I mean, I guess we're gonna let them try, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, but I think this is like you know all the dark fiber that got laid, and then 10 years later I got bought for cents on the dollar. Um, so I think that's where we are right now. I think we are in this massive buildup, and you know there's going to be a trough. A trough is coming. Everybody knows it, and you know Facebook, Google, they'll be fine. Yeah, because
mhm.
they've got a money fountain hooked up, and and the big cloud providers, they'll be fine. They're
All right. Well, what do you think? What about like, well, as we conclude our mid-year check-in on AI, it's like every good manager should be like, okay, here's what we expect from you in 6 months. And if you do this, we'll be excited. And if you don't, we're going to have another conversation. And I think the check-in will be like, we know OpenAI is going to release their 5.0 model. I'm sure it will have some like incredibly complicated name like, with letters in it. We won't know what it means. But I think that's the moment of like, we need to see like something significantly move forward in
Yep.
5.0, right? To be like wow, stuff's really happening. Because I feel like they're already kind of walking it back a little bit. They're like, because the one thing I read about it was something like, well, it's like models of models, and there's like different models for different tasks,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
really, and it's like, okay, like I'm gonna like reserve judgment, but I'm also that sort of kind of sounds like, again, your sounds like it's more work for me. Like I got to pick a model for
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
doing, and you're better at this versus like, oh, like I can see we took another 10x forward, and I feel like we're on the path of like AGI. And I want to into like some of the points we made in the survey. It's like where people are like, oh, it's really good at complex thing. You just tell it I want a website, and it just builds the entire thing, maintains it and stuff going forward. So I think that's going to be our full year check-in. We're like, okay, if 5.0 really wows us and moves forward, then I think we're going to give it, again, the highest ranking. We're going to be like, you're authorized to get another $100 billion in revenue
Or
or in funding. Or if you
or
don't, we're going to have to
DeepSeek
maybe put you on
two
a,
gets dropped, and just
yeah, maybe we think
just
about a
drops the
performance plan there, Mr.
yeah,
OpenAI.
exactly.
We're like, guys, we gave you a lot of money, and you're just giving us more M dashes. Like and it's like we had too many. We don't want any more M
Right.
dashes. Like, or
Yeah.
maybe you fix the M dash problem. That's not enough. That's not enough for us. So, all
Yeah.
right, so we'll check in maybe I don't know, end of year, and we'll
Yeah.
see what's going on. And
Come
I
December.
don't know. I guess the more Sam Altman tells us to worry, the more I'm like, I feel like, and so maybe we should say this way. I guess we'll conclude, Matt. I think, will we agree? Like, it still seems like we're on our way up. Like, we're not at inflated expectations yet,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
but but come December we might be like, remember when we put that Chat GPT 5.0 flag on the peak?
Uh huh. That could be it.
That could be it.
That 5.0 could be the peak.
Or maybe maybe instead of junior developers we're gonna have just staff developers, and we'll be like, oh, I'm still holding out for those principles.
Well, the one thing I know for sure is our friend Ed Zitron. He is at the a trough of disillusion, and he is looking at us and being
Oh
like,
no, no,
"Oh,
he's
when
already over the
when are you
curve,
people
and he's
coming
yeah,
down here? I've been here
yeah.
for a while. Why are what took you so long?" So.
But he brings receipts, and so he's just providing needles for those balloons, and you're like, yeah, it's coming. Everybody knows it's coming. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows it's coming. I'm just here to gobble up the dark fiber. That's what's going to happen.
Well, speaking of not gobbling up fiber, but speaking of just pop culture, I thought maybe for a while it really wasn't relevant to us, but like, I feel like we have to weigh in on this astronomer thing, right? So, unless you've somehow been living under, I don't know, a place that doesn't have any internet, you saw it. Astronomer, their CEO was having an affair allegedly with their chief people officer. Very funny video. I think it's funny. I don't know. You can even debate that characterization of them cuddling, at a Coldplay concert where they get caught. And of course, they look pretty guilty, and that they've gone on to both resign. And so I guess I was thinking to myself, is like, I love the idea when like technology intersects with just like viral pulp culture. I feel like that's like our world, man. This is what I like to think of. It's like when like the real people. So first, I think we have to congratulate our friends at the Cloudcast, who unbelievably had the most straight interview about the product, Apache Airflow, from the Astronomer CTO. Listen to it today, just to refresh my memory. Of course, this was all recorded prior to the incident, but somehow it came
Oh,
out the exact week of it.
perfect
So,
timing.
it's like they're like the hard news of cloud. They're like, yeah, this massive pulp culture story is happening, and they're just going over the details of
Straight faced.
Apache
Yep.
Airflow as just as straight as it could possibly be. So, congratulations to Aaron. I think Aaron, you should try to get them back on the show, and if you will, ask them some follow up questions on that. So that was fun. You should listen to that. Um, but then I always like the idea of like how, because this is the world we live in. It's like how many people can go viral off the same thing, right? So you had the initial like astronomer, that the thing goes viral, right? And then of course it's like, well, what did they? Then the executives resign. It's like, okay, and I thought like, what are they going to do? And I think absolute genius here, right? They hire Gwyneth Paltrow. For those not following home, that's the ex-wife of the lead singer of Coldplay, and she comes out and gives a 2 minute kind of, if you will, YouTube video as the quote unquote temporary spokesman for Astronomer. And she goes on to basically briefly explain what they do. I thought this was absolutely outstanding PR. I was like, there's no way you can ignore this as a company. And I don't think just issuing your boring old press release being like, and they did that as well. Like, these are not the values that we espouse to, blah, 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 and things like that. And I also thought it was like, well, if you're going to live in this world and you're going to be in part of this viral moment, why not try to get your brand out there? Now, Gwyneth is, I guess, somewhat controversial. Like she's involved in wellness, and I don't know. People have different opinions about, that kind, her in general. So I saw some backlash, but I liked it. What did you think,
Yeah.
Matt? What was your take on this? If you a crisis PR move, did you like this or dislike this?
I think it was, it was definitely inspired, right? It's everyone was already kind of talking about it. This gave them a chance to kind of, I guess, make fun of themselves, try to move past it. Um, I guess we're talking about how smart their marketing is instead of how dumb their CEO is. So let's just get back to talking about the product. I guess that's the
So I
real
liked
goal.
it. Now, if you will, the layers of the viralness. Now, of course, Gwyneth Paltrow, she has a book. There's a book coming out about her on July 29th. So it was like, wow, that's pretty savvy too, right? The fact that like, hey, she can, if you will, inject herself into this, like, because at one point the it was viewed like 20 million times, it's probably been viewed 100 million times. So it kind of gets her name out there in this like fun way. So I thought that was an interesting way. And then of course Ryan Reynolds, who like, I don't know, the man that's everywhere.
Off the top
He
rope.
he then issues a press release or whatever. The report, someone reports that like his ad agency was the actual people that put together this entire thing. So then he and that ad agency go viral on top of that. So I'm thinking like there's like three levels of
Yeah.
virality here, right? There's sort of like the initial clip, Astronomer trying to position itself as Gwyneth, and then Ryan Reynolds is like, you know what? I'm actually gonna get credit for doing this on top of this. So it's like, did everyone ring? Like, is there anything left? Did everyone get something out of this? Is there any?
Well, we're getting something out of it, right?
And yeah, and we're talking about it on our podcast. So like, we're talking about it too. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a perfect story. But now, on a more serious note, though, the one thing I did have to think about here was just sort of like, there's always this talk about corporate culture, and I don't know if this is generalized feelings, but there is sometimes a feeling that like, hey, a lot of us like know the rules, but like the rules aren't equally, if you will,
Oh yeah.
applied. So like maybe that is kind of like, if you will, a dark cloud over this. Is like this does kind of reinforce, because when you have the leader of the company, that with the person that is in theory the one that's going to be, if you will, generally teaching the code of conduct, enforcing the code of conduct training, the sexual harassment training, and it's like, I don't know. There's part of this that is like a little bit of like, man, I feel like we all kind of, I'm just speaking for like white collar workers around the world. It's just like there's just this kind of feeling is like, yeah, like this has happened again. You know what I mean? Like when you're clicking through your code of conduct training this year, you're probably gonna think to yourself like, I think I know this. I'm not sure that I'm the one that needs to be taking this training, right? I
Right,
don't know. I
right.
mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, long ago, someone pointed out that HR doesn't work for the employees; it works for management.
Hmm.
So their job is to protect the company from the workers, and the workers screwing up, and while there are a few people above them they report to, they don't get to hold those folks to the standard. And so, once I kind of observe, like, you know, you have to be careful what you tell HR sometimes. You have to, they're there to protect the company from, you everyone lower in the org chart messing up because they can't watch the people above them. It kind of made sense. So, all those jokes about, when I was many companies ago, not to name names, but, there was a known kind of affair going on at the upper management levels. And it wasn't HR; it was a different position, but we called them, the VP of getting it on. And this was 20 years ago, right? So it's like nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
Nothing ever changes.
And I guess maybe that's the lesson here is like, yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. Like people, you can only watch so many people, and at the top, there aren't as many people watching. That's it. That's
Yeah.
just there's nothing else to it. And it's like maybe that's just what we're just is just an example of that. And to your kind of point, is like
I,
maybe we just have to accept it. Maybe that's the
I,
best thing to do is like not be frustrated by it. Be like, this is just how it is. It is what it is.
I mean, the real takeaway from this episode is soon AI agents will replace all workers, and it'll be a utopia.
Well, hopefully one day the AI agents will be at a Coldplay concert and there'll be inappropriate AI agent communication, and we'll all laugh about that. So, but no, quickly, Matt, I wanted to get to this. In the only transition in the world that's going from Astronomer to YAML, we're about to do it. You say things don't change, but it looks like there's a new YAML on the block. I don't know, another version, KYAML from our friends over at Kubernetes. They have proposed, if you will, which is a subset of YAML that seeks to address all the problems of YAML and JSON simultaneously. So I will quickly give you what I understand it is that the fundamental tension here between YAML that's optimized for humans, right, readability, but not so good for processing, creates
Yeah.
problems with JSON, right, especially the white space sensitivity. So KYAML is going to do the following. It's going to basically take away this white space issue, right? It's going to retain comments. Cote will be like to hear that. It will be a little bit more flexible about the trailing comma. If you leave the trailing comma in there, it won't, freak out. It'll just do it. And you won't have to quote all your keys like in JSON. So you can just kind of type normally. So my question to you is KYAML the compromise we've all been seeking between YAML and JSON? Or is this just yet another markup language that
I
we'll forget about in a few
Yeah, I
months?
mean, they missed the golden opportunity here to call it YAYAML. YAYAML.
Like
Because it's
recursive? Like, yeah,
yet another
YAML
markup
squared or
language.
something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah, YAML. Yeah, but seriously, you could have called it YAML too. Sure. KYAML is that's fine. I mean, fixing the bugs in YAML, maybe they could have just added a new spec, but I guess there's just too much YAML out in the world that they needed a different, they needed to draw a hard line. I think it's a welcome refinement. I think it's going to take a long time to retrofit tooling to switch to this, but hopefully it makes it. It's cleaning up a mess that was trying to clean up the previous mess, which was trying to clean up the previous mess. um, as long as we still get good JSON at the end, I'm fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess in the end, that's kind of where I came down on. It's like at first, I think it is easy to like just lampoon it and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is like the
Yeah,
last thing the world needs." But it's like,
but
no,
the
it
world
does
does
seem
need it. Yeah,
it kind of does seem like this is a good compromise. I mean, I guess we could go back. I mean, I know this is a blameless post-mortem, but like, I don't know who's in charge of YAML. Like, who let this white space thing get in? I mean, that's maybe the original question, but that ship
yeah,
has
yeah,
sailed, right?
yeah.
It's like we're like, what are we gonna do? So I think it's a good idea, and I think it can exist at as if you will as like a subset, and then maybe the best way to think of it is more like maybe like old XML and HTML. Eventually, the lower standard becomes like the real standard. It's like, yeah, like XML. HTML is technically, I think, a subset of XML, but like, it doesn't matter.
As a
No one's
four,
doing
yeah,
XML,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? So it's like maybe one day it's like, oh yeah, YAML, that's just a superset. Nobody does that, right? So
yeah. Hopefully,
I don't know. KYAML does seem to like a bad name. I think you're right. I think they should have workshopped this with us. We had a lot in
yeah,
just a few minutes. We could have come up with a lot better ideas.
but probably what's going to happen here is this is like eBPF, where it used to stand for the extended Berkeley packet filter, because
Mhm.
they take in this concept of Berkeley packet factor Berkeley packet filters from BSD, and they adopted it to Linux so they could do their own. And then other people looked at it like, hey, that's pretty useful. I'm going to do that too, and it has nothing to do with packet filtering. It's just it's APIs into the Linux kernel. And and then the eBPF old school people are like, but you're not doing packet filtering. They're like, screw it. It's not an acronym anymore. It's just the name of the thing. And so KYAML, 5 years from now, KYAML is not going to be just Kubernetes, and people are going to be like, why are we using Kubernetes YAML in our web front end? And that doesn't, that runs on, whatever replaces, that runs on VMware, because it's not going away. And then you're like, but this KYAML, it's everywhere, but we're not using Kubernetes. It's like, no, it's not Kubernetes YAML anymore. It's just, KYAML.
I think you laid out the exact reason, but like everything you said is
Which is
correct.
why you don't call it KYAML,
But I was gonna
because
say, like, we
everybody
know that,
knows
like
that you know
go
I'm going
ahead.
to
I
be
was gonna say, but
explaining to people that eBPF doesn't stand for eBPF. It is what it is.
right, but there was a time. This is the whole thing. There was a time when it meant something. Whereas this, I
Exactly.
think, right now, at the moment of inception, we like
It
already
does.
think this is
We
wrong.
already know
Like,
it's on its way out.
yeah, we know this isn't just for Kubernetes. This, in fact, it has almost nothing to do with Kubernetes. This is more about, like, yes, Kubernetes has the problem that just like everyone, but it's like, so like what you already said, why YAML, much better name, or like spell it out, WHY YAML, like something like that would be like, I mean, just be fun about it. Be like, you know what? It's like, yeah, like we got it wrong. We have to correct it. Let's not put a K on it. So
Exactly.
I don't get it, but okay,
YAML
but what
2.
it is, what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe the Kubernetes people are like, hey, at least we're fixing it. So stop complaining, Brandon. It's like, fair enough.
Exactly.
Fair
And
enough. I take that criticism.
but
I'm
why
like,
not call it like the CNCF YAML?
oh my God. Oh my God. That would be, there you go.
Did it
That
get its
would
own
be even
foundation?
better. So, oh my God. All right. Well, we got to end this. All right. Well, very quickly, we'll just mention it in passing because it's just a big number. Palo Alto Networks is going to acquire CyberArk for $25 billion. That's pretty impressive. CyberArk
Yeah.
is,
Who
I'm
knew?
going to call them now. I'm going to say they're the most successful identity and access management company. I knew them when they were just a small little private identity management company, and now look at them. They've all grown up, and one day maybe they'll compete with Matt. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to Palo Alto. I'm sure good things will be coming out. Now, if you're going to be out and about, there are many conferences coming up. Matt is coming up, I think, just next week. You're going to be at the Sydney Wisdom Meetup.
Yep.
Any highlights there? Anything we need to know about that?
Community meetup. So if you're a Wiz customer, user, interested, come on out. It will probably be like 50 people or so with food and drinks. So it'll be fun.
Excellent. And then if you're looking for Kote, he's been out traveling quite a bit this summer. He's going to be at Spring One. That's in Las Vegas, August 25th. Also co-located for that, I guess this is the conference Explore 2025. I believe if I'm correct, I think that's the old VMware World, right? That's also August 25th to the 28th, also in Las Vegas. And then if you didn't find Matt in Sydney, you can find him in Brisbane on August 26th, which I always think, oh, that's great. It's going to be the summer, but it's not going to be the summer. It's going to be
No.
it's going to be a cold winter day in Brisbane. I don't know anything about it, but so you can find Matt, find Kote, take some pictures of them, post them on your Instagram, send them to us, put them in the Slack, do all kinds of stuff like that. On the listener recommendations this week, one, if you want a sticker, as always, just email your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I'm happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. And then Steve recommends the podcast Lessons from Production. Haven't heard it, but sounds good. Sounds just like what you would get. Some mistakes were made in production. Here's some things you can learn about. So if you're looking for another podcast, check out the one that Steve recommends. Now, having said all that, Matt, what do you recommend this week?
So my recommendation this week is if you listen to other podcasts, hopefully you're listening to our sister podcast, Software Defined Interviews. This last one, I guess it's from last week, that Cote and Whitney interviewed Chris Dancy, who he and Cote briefly had an episode many years ago, but or maybe they did like 2 or 3 episodes of another series. Um, but it's very very interesting because Chris at one point was described as the most connected person in the world based off using personal monitoring stuff, automations, hooking up to different systems. Definitely an interesting interview. Lots of humorous anecdotes. I really like the work that Cote and Whitney have been doing. The interviews, tangentially, they're related to our industry, of course, but they get some really great stories out of people. So really enjoyed it.
All right, good recommendation. We'll call it the personal side of software defined talk. A lot of personal anecdotes. And
As
yes,
opposed to us talking about
hard
YAML.
news. We're nothing but hard news. That's all anyone cares about. We gave you the hard news this week. A little bit of YAML, a little bit
Yeah,
of Astronomer, a little bit of
we're
donuts.
the opinion page. The
Whatever. Yeah,
Cloudcast is the
editorial.
news, and yeah, we're the opinion editorials, and they're the lifestyle.
Mhm. All right. Well, my recommendation this week is something we've talked about, but actually I didn't use it, but my son used it. So signed him up for an Uber Teen account. So obviously ride sharing. And I thought it was excellent. I really have to give Uber credit here. I thought it was really well done. It's very easy for probably any teenager with a phone. I'm sure they can figure out how to use it. But as a parent, it's great because you can kind of like see where they're going, see what they've requested, see what they spent. And it's fantastic, right? If you find yourself in a bind, either you're not in the same location, you can't give your kid a ride, or they need a ride to an airport or something like that. I recommended it. So Uber Teen
Okay.
is pretty good. And I think Uber
Question.
has like had quite a I don't want to say a comeback, but it's like it really has quietly become uh uh I think a very good utility. Even and I looked up because I know a lot of people like Lyft, and I like Lyft as well. I've used that as well, but to my knowledge, Lyft does not have Teen. They didn't have anything like this. So I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. I was like, Uber seems to kind of like have all the use cases figured out. So I was like, so I have to give them credit, even though I know there was a time where I don't know, maybe they didn't do everything right, but I think they're a good utility now. So
Yeah. What do you think about Waymo for babies? Did you see
wait,
that?
no, what does that one do?
I don't know if this was real or not, but there was
Oh my,
somebody took a photo of a Waymo transporting an infant,
oh my
and
God.
yeah, and like in a baby carrier, and it pretty much evenly split between horrified parents, and people are like, well, with parents divorced, they got to get the kid across town.
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think. I'm gonna actually do some research. I'm gonna have to do a little more thinking. My
I
initial
mean,
reaction is
maybe
like
it's
I'm
a
a little
maybe it's
bit
a
frightened
hoax.
by that, but like I don't know. Maybe there are people listening to this now like I cannot believe you let your teenager ride in an Uber, and I was like, me, you're right. Like
Yeah.
and I get because the other discussion was like, well, would you let them ride in a Waymo? I'm fine with it. I think it would be better, right? Being a
Would you
Waymo.
let them ride in a
Um,
Tesla? No.
Not a Tesla. No, I wouldn't. That's true. No, that's true. I wouldn't. I would let him do Waymo. But like, I don't know. All right. So like, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna think about it before I instantly react.
All
I
right.
feel a little
Waymo for
bit. I
babies.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, my initial reaction is like very skeptical of that. But like, I don't know. I'm gonna go watch. I'm gonna go watch the video.
Waymo for
So
dogs?
yeah, that I'd be fine with. I think that would be good. I think it'd be good. It'd be fine. Now the dog would probably pee in the Waymo, so I think they would get a low rating very quickly. So that's
Yeah,
gonna be a
yeah.
problem.
Bad
So.
dog.
All right. Well, everyone has their work to do. Go watch some of the Waymo videos and decide for yourself whether or not you'll let your dog, your teen, or maybe your infant ride in it, and let us know. Report back. Having said all that, if you would like to see all the topics we discussed and some that we didn't, you should go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/531. There you'll see all the show notes and all the ways that you can contact us. We're on all the fun social media things. So, always like, subscribe, do all the things that people want you to do. And with that, we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right, man. Excellent episode as always. For those maybe in the real know, they know you're about to move, as you mentioned on the show. So why don't you give us your best moving tips? Are there any tips or advice that you would like to offer? the crowd as you embark on your latest move?
Movers charge a premium for weekends. Um, that's if you can avoid that, that'll save you some money. Um, I don't have great tips. Make a spreadsheet of everything that ever occurs to you that you need to do in advance. So you're like, oh, I got to turn the water on. Oh, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Because we're finally moving from a rental to a house, to a purchased house. So now I'm like responsible for more utilities and, um, just all the stuff. And I can't keep it all in my head. AI is not helping. Um, and we did get some checklists. The realtors, they have an automated process, of course. They're
Of
like, oh,
course.
congrats, here's a checklist of things. I was like, oh yeah, so the checklist
Hmm.
did help. Just and if you're like me and you're moving frequently because you're renting, keep your old boxes because we did that and it's been really helpful. Haven't had to buy too many yet, um, but yeah, it's just a slog.
All right. Well, we cheer you on, Matt. I think maybe the biggest tip is what you said for just hire movers. Don't just get the
Oh
U-Haul.
hell
Hire,
no,
hire
yeah, yeah.
people that are professionals to come in and lift all the heavy stuff for you. That would be my only recommendation. So we will look forward to recording maybe sometime next week from Matt's new studio, where I'm sure it will be perfectly
Ooh.
built for
Oh my
nothing
god,
but a perfect sound. I've already seen a
I
picture of it. And man, and I'll just tell our listeners, like, he has a lot of work to do to get this to become a podcast worthy
I hope you
studio.
like brick and tile.
Oh my gosh. Ugh.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll tune into the next
it's
week.
just as
We're
bad as I thought. I went in there for the pre closing inspection, and it's like echoey, and I was just like, oh my god, Brandon's gonna die.
tune in next week to where Brandon loses his mind about Matt's audio quality. But we'll see. We'll work it out. I'm sure we'll
We'll
work
work
it
it out.
out. All right. With that said, thanks for everyone who hung in on the stream. It's always fun. Check us out in the Software Defined Talk. We'll likely be recording next week around this